So what are the chemical properties of the carbohydrates? One, in the alkaline medium, they form the enediol formation, which is described by a test called as Benedict's test. When you add the acid like HCl or H2SO4, they form a compound called as perfural derivatives. We'll see one by one what are they. And when you treat them with the phenyl hydrogen hydrochloride, which is a main important reagent for the ozone formation, you form the crystals. Okay, crystals which you can appreciate on microscope. Okay, on microscope you can see the crystals of each type of monosaccharide or disaccharides. Then on oxidation, when you do the oxidation reaction for the carbohydrates, they form the acids. They are called as uronic acids. When you reduce them, they form the alcohols. The carbohydrate undergo alcohol. So first one, enediol formation. What do you understand by enediol formation? In the alkaline medium. Alkaline means it might be pH more than 7. Okay, that is alkaline. Like for example, if you add the NaOH base, then the solution becomes alkaline. Right? So in alkaline medium, there is formation of enediols. Enediols are nothing but the intermediate compound. You can see in this picture, COH or CHO is the aldehyde group. It is a aldehyde. What is happening in the alkaline medium? This double bond is shifted here between the carbon atom. Is it permanent? No, it is intermediary, short term. Okay, it's a short term lived where double bond is shifted from carbon 1 2. Okay, between the carbon 1 and 2. Then what is happening? This is again shifted to carbon number 2. That is, what is now here? Keto group. So what is here? Conversion is aldehyde group is converted into a keto group. The functional groups are getting converted into different. What is the end result? The glucose is converted to the fructose. So in alkaline medium, the double bond is shifted from the carbon number 1 to carbon number 2, and in between intermediate, the bond is shifted, double bond is shifted to the C1, C2. So that intermediate is called as 1, 2 enediol form. This is called as enediol, which is highly reducing property. Okay, it has highly reduction property, which is used in this reaction, Benedict's test. What is it? Sugar is converted to enediol form. Enediol means double bond between C1 and C2. Okay, that is in the alkaline medium. So this is, as I mentioned, it is highly reducing substance. So what is happening in the reaction, Benedict's reaction? You add the copper sulfate, which is part of the Benedict's reagent, which will give the copper ions. Okay, copper ions are reduced because of the reduction property of the enediol, which forms the red color. Okay, the oxidized product of the copper will form a red color, which shows that there is a presence of sugar in the sample. Like for example, if you are given with the urine sample, and I'll ask you to test whether sugar is present or not in the urine. What you will do? You perform this test. If sugar is present, it will turn red. If it is not present, it will not turn any color. Normally, Benedict's reagent is blue in color. So blue to red is due to the reduction of the copper. Okay, copper, copper iron, they form reddish color on oxidation when they are exposed to oxygen. So if urine contains sugar, it is converted to red. If it does not contain anything, then it will not form any color. Okay, it will not form any color. That is used to detect the presence of the urine glucose or any carbohydrate, any reducing carbohydrate, which has a property to reduce the Benedict's reagent. Next, second reaction which we were yesterday telling, Bossazone reaction. That is, all the reducing sugars will form ozone when phenyl hydrogen hydrochloride is made to react with the carbohydrate. What is this? This is a carbohydrate, maybe like glucose. So glucose reacts with phenyl hydrogen hydrochloride. What is happening at C1, C2? It is binding. Two molecules of the phenyl hydrogen hydrochloride are binding over this molecule of the glucose, which forms insoluble crystals. Okay, which forms insoluble crystals. When you put it on the slide, like on the slide, you are adding this a drop of liquid of the osazole. Okay, crystals, and you are putting the slide over the microscope. So what you appear, what you are seeing is either of the three representations. Either you are seeing the needle-shaped crystals, that is most commonly seen with the glucose and fructose molecule. This is powder puff. Okay, powder puff appearance of the osazole. That is most commonly seen with the lactose. If your sugar molecule is lactose, then on osazole you see like this. If your sugar molecule is glucose or fructose, you will see needle-shaped crystals. Okay, you can see here needle-shaped crystals like this, like this. If on microscope you are seeing like this, which is like a sunflower appearance. Okay, sunflower appearance. Then it is a solution of maltose sugar. Okay, maltose sugar molecule or carbohydrate. So this you are seeing on this one, osazole. Okay, where you are going to see under the microscope the different representations. Next, oxidation. As I mentioned, oxidation of the carbohydrate will give you the acid part. Okay, you are preparing an acid if it is oxidized. Under mild oxidation conditions, the aldehyde group is oxidized to carboxyl group to produce aldonic acid. That is, like for example, now it is actually COH. What is happening? Instead of COH, it is converted into C single bond O. Here it is instead of only H, it is only H. It is converted to hydroxy. Now what is it? COOH. Instead of CHO, it is converted to COOH. It is called as acid, aldonic acid. Like in the figures also you can see. This is the first carbon atom. This is the sixth carbon atom. So at the first carbon atom, it is undergoing oxidation to produce COOH, that is acid group. So glucose is converted to gluconic acid, mannose is converted to manoic acid, galactose is converted to galactonic acid. And this occurs under the mild oxidation condition where the H group is converted into a OH group. CHO is converted into a COOH, which is an acid. It is the oxidation of the sugars. Okay, when aldehyde group is protected, now what we are seeing here, it is the aldehyde group. When aldehyde group is oxidized, it is forming gluconic acid. Now, if first carbon is same, okay, CHO, there is no change. But what is happening? The last carbon becomes COOH instead of CH2OH. It is converted to COOH on the sixth position. Sixth position is converted to COOH. Now, what you call them as glucose is called as glucuronic acid. Uronic. Okay, here you can see, please don't get confused. If at the first carbon atom it is getting COOH, they are called as gluconic. If at the sixth carbon atom it is forming COOH, it's called as glucuronic. Okay, you are adding the uronic acid groups. They are called as uronic. Like mannose is called as mannuroic acid. Galactose is called as galacturonic acid. Here it is all gluconic, mannoic, galactonoic at the first position. When it is at the sixth position, you call them as the uronic acids. The suffix what you add, sorry, the suffix what you add is the uronic. Here what you add is aldenoic. Okay, onoic you are adding. Here you are adding is uranoic. So the glucuronic acid is used in body for most of the conjugation means, like for example, the molecule which you want to excrete from the body, you add the glucuronic acid to it, it becomes more water soluble, so that it can be excreted through the urine. Okay, that is one of the mechanism of conjugation which you learn in a particular chapter of detoxification, where you will be learning how glucose molecules or the glucuronic acid specifically helps in the process of conjugation and detoxification, removal of the toxic substances. These both are occurring in the mild condition. When strong oxidation occurs, both first and the last carbon, that is the C1 and C6, both will become COOH. Both will become COOH. Now, how many COOH are there? 1 and 2. What do you call them as? Di. Di means 2. 2 carboxylic acids. Carboxyl means COOH. Please remember, carboxyl is COOH, disaccharide. Okay, these saccharides are converted into containing 2 carboxyl groups. They are called as dicarboxylic acids. What they are named as examples? Glucose containing C1 and C6, both are COOH. They are called as glucosaccharic acid. If it is mannose, it will be manneric acid. Galactose is called as mucic acid. Okay, mucic acid. So these are the one which are oxidized in a strong oxidation condition. These both are mild oxidation condition, where either C1 or C6 will be converted into COOH. Either, okay, or if it is strong oxidation condition, both C1 and C6 are converted into COOH. How many number? 2 in number. So they are called as dicarboxylic acid compounds, or also called as saccharic acids. Their suffix is saccharic acid. So as I told you, you can see at C1 carbon, it is converted into COOH. It is called as onic acid, gluconic acid. C1 is paired. C1 is CHO, the aldehyde group only. But where is the change? Is here. The CH2OH is converted into carboxylic acid. They are called as uronic acids. That is, at the 6th carbon atom, it is converted into COH. These both are occurring in the mild condition. If it is a strong oxidation, what is the change? CHO is converted into COOH. CH2OH is converted into COOH. That is first carbon and 6th carbon. Both are forming first carboxyl group, second carboxyl group. They are called as glucosaccharic acid. That is the suffix what you are adding is saccharic acid. So this is what happens when it is exposed to oxidation. Okay, carbohydrates are exposed to oxidation. Next, oxidation is over. Now, if you make the like for example, a carbohydrate to react with strong acids, like maybe HCl, H2SO4, strong acids. What happens when monosaccharides are treated with concentrated sulfuric acid? They undergo dehydration. Like for example, if acid falls on your hand, what happens? All your skin starts burning. Means your skin gets dehydrated. In similar way, carbohydrates, when they are exposed to the sulfuric acid, it will dehydrate. Now, in the structure, if you see, I'll show you the structure. OH is there. Can it not be converted into H2O? You're removing the OH group, dehydration, dehydration, dehydration. So, that is what is happening in the furfural derivatives. Okay, monosaccharides, when treated with the sulfuric acid, they are converted into the dehydrated form by removal of 3 molecules of water. Okay, by removal of 3 molecules of water. Therefore, hexoses give hydroxymethyl furfural and pentose will give furfurols. And how you are going to identify this test? That is done by one test called as Molish test. So in the Molish test, you will see the furfural derivatives will react with a reagent, phenolic compounds, to give a color. Like in this reaction, what you have done, you can see a purple color ring at the junction of two liquids. At junction, you can see this is the furfural derivatives. Okay, that is the furfural derivatives which you can identify, which shows there is a presence of carbohydrate. Okay, if you do the Molish test, you can identify the given unknown sample or the unknown solution contains carbohydrate in this. If there is no carbohydrate, then there is no purple color ring at the center. Okay, there is no purple color ring. All solution is of same color or it is transparent. But if it contains the carbohydrate solution, then it will give a furfural derivative which is forming the purple color ring at the center of junction of two different liquids. Next, when you add the reducing substance, okay, when you add the reducing substance, what happens? Like for example, sodium amalgam. What is happening? You can see in the structure CHO group. Yes. Now CH2OH is what? It's actually alcohol. Now what is happening? CHO group. Here you can see the first carbon instead of aldehyde group, it is converted to a alcohol group. So on reduction, it is forming alcohol, and this compound is called as sorbitol. Glucose can be converted to sorbitol. Similarly, you see fructose. Fructose, okay. Fructose also is converted into a CH2OH. Then again it forms the sorbitol, or it might form the one more compound that is called as mannitol. Okay, D-fructose can give the sorbitol, D-sorbitol or D-mannitol, and in the case of D-glucose, it gives the D-sorbitol. What is happening here is reduction. Okay, that is reduction reaction which is occurring here. Where reducing glucose is converted to sorbitol. Similarly, mannose is converted to mannitol. Fructose is converted to both mannitol and sorbitol. Galactose on reduction forms dulcitol, and ribose is converted to ribitol. Please remember, you need not to memorize the structure. Why I have put this structure is so that you have some clarity that what are these changes and where are these occurring. In the exam, you should write what happens if glucose is reduced. What is the compound name? So you should be able to write glucose is reduced to sorbitol, mannose is reduced to mannitol, fructose is reduced to sorbitol or mannitol. But you need not to draw the structures. Okay, you need not to draw the structures, but you should be able to write this, because in the exam they'll ask you for 2 mark question or short answer question, where they'll ask you write the reduction forms of the glucose or reduced forms of carbohydrates. They form nothing but the alcohol. So alcohol form of the glucose is called as sorbitol. Mannose alcohol form is called as mannitol, like that. Okay, you should be able to write. And what are the importance of these? Like for example, these compounds, sorbitol, mannitol, dulcitol, they all are identified in the bacterial colonies. Okay, when you do the culture of the bacteria on the plate, petri dish plate, under the particular medium, then you can find these alcohols being produced. Means they are reducing the carbohydrate to these alcohol compounds. Second, does it have for any treatment? Yes. Mannitol, which is an important molecule or alcohol derivative of the carbohydrate, is used to reduce the intracranial pressure, which is nothing but the ICT. Okay, intracranial tension by forced diuresis. How it works and all, when you read the physiology, you will come to the exact understanding what is intracranial pressure or tension, how much it is, and what is the importance of that. If it is high, what happens? If it is low, what happens? So those are things you will be understanding there. But for now, you remember mannitol is used in treatment of the disease as per se. Next, sorbitol and dulcitol. They are the important water attractant. They have osmotic activity. Okay, they are osmotic active. So when they are accumulated in the lens, okay, when they are accumulated in your eye lens, what happens? Because if their concentration increases in the eye lens, it attracts the water molecule. So because of which, what happens to the lens? It bulges. So because of the water being attracted into the lens, due to the increased concentration of the sorbitol or dulcitol, it causes water retention into the lens and it causes bulging of the lens or distortion of the structure. Because of which, what happens? What is the function of lens? It is transparent. It allows the ray of light to travel. But if it becomes swollen, what happens? It might become opaque. The light will not travel inside or it will reduce. Okay, only some amount of light is passing so that the retina can capture it and you can see the vision. You can see the things. So when there is increase in the sorbitol or dulcitol in the lens, it causes retention of the water molecule with the swelling of the lens and distortion of the lens protein, because of which it becomes opaque. Okay, it becomes opaque. So because of the opacity, it is called as cataract. Okay, cataract occurs whenever there is increase in the these molecules. Okay, 1 second. 42. Okay, so this is the importance of sorbitol and dulcitol. How important are they? Okay, next is the glycosides. So that will continue.